We're talking actors and directors who put on the shows.
We're talking playwrights and designers who you'll want to know.
From the very first rehearsal to the final curtain call.
We might be off Broadway, but we're talking about it all.
'Cause we're two local gals
with global pals. It's everything, everything, everything theater.
with Benita
And Ellen. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Everything Theater Podcast, the podcast where we talk about
everything theater from A to, well, Z, right? Because, hi, I'm Benita Zahn.
I'm Ellen Cribbs. If only my name started with A, that would be such a good tagline.
It really would, right? Oh, goodness me. We're glad to have you guys with us. There's been a lot going on in the theater scene. Locally, obviously, you know, the summer theater scene in the Berkshires is Park Playhouse. Ellen's involved with that. And then there's the stuff that goes on all year. It doesn't matter the season. And that's where our intersection is today. We have the good fortune to be talking with Jay Sefton, who is an actor that many of you may have seen in the Capital Region perform his one-man show, Unreconciled. How many years ago was that, Jay?
So the first workshop production was exactly 3 years ago at Chester as the mid-season event at Chester Theater Company.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you had that, you also brought that here to Capital Rep.
Yes. Yeah. And I forget when that was. I think that was the spring of 2024.
So Jay's had a varied and distinguished career on stage. He is also a counselor when he's not attending to our emotional well-being as a performer. So you've bookended your life dynamically. And you would agree?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. It's a good fit. It feels like a good fit. I like both things.
So Unreconciled deals with your experiences as a child.
Yeah.
And at the hands of priest.
Right.
Which, sad to say, we've heard many a story, an emotional one. And you have turned this into a very powerful piece. And you're touring with it. So I've had the good fortune to see it. I'm going to take Ellen the next time you're nearby to see this. And you play many characters. Help us all understand what it is you're doing. As a reporter, I should never ask 5 questions at once. What it is you're doing, why you're doing, all the people you're playing. Have at it, Jay.
So, as you said, 3 years ago, I was getting ready to perform it for the first time. And, you never know what that's going to be like. Now, the inspiration to write it came in 2021, and it was more of a political thing that happened. So I grew up just outside of Philadelphia, and the state of Pennsylvania was at the center of a lot of statute of limitations reform efforts throughout the country based on grand jury investigations of the Catholic Church. Pennsylvania itself has failed to implement one of those reform suggestions that's a part of every grand jury, which is to open a 2-year look-back window for survivors whose statute of limitations have timed out to bring their case to court. It looked like it was going to happen in 2021. I thought, great, I will have an opportunity to bring my case to court, and I'll be done with this. I'll put it in the rearview mirror, and it fell apart in fantastic fashion. Now, it's been decades of trying to get this done, and I thought it was going to get done, and it didn't. And I didn't know what to do, and I was filled with rage. I think part of the rage came from just that juxtaposition of like, oh, it's finally going to happen, and then it didn't. And I spent 3 mornings a week. I had done a solo show in 2008, 2009, and I thought, all right, maybe I can write something here. Maybe I can do something. And I just would go into the basement 3 mornings a week for 2 hours and just sit and say, all right, I'm showing up. Let's see if anything else shows up. And, a lot of bad ideas showed up. I think the first time we read the play, it was when I read it out loud, the co-author is Mark Basquill, who came on about 5 months after that moment. But the first time we read the play, it was 2 hours and 45 minutes long. And, you don't want to do that to any
That's at
theater
least an
audience
hour too long. Yeah.
at the very least. So that was the beginning of it. And it took about a year and a half to finish writing it about a year and a half from 2021. No, I guess that's more than that's like 2.5 years to the summer of
It's okay,
2023.
Jay. I'm not good with numbers either.
Yeah, there's no math in the show, just in case anyone's worried. Um, so yes, and I knew the solo format a little bit and enjoyed playing. I enjoy playing these characters, and so 3 years later, 3 years of performing it, it pretty quickly went from absolute rage to absolute joy of performing the show. I love performing it, and we've had the great fortune of continuing to do it in many different places.
Talk about that intersection of the rage and the energy, and how you, as a person and performer, manage to turn that into the joy of something so personal and painful.
Good question, because I think growing up Catholic, I went to 12 years of Catholic school. Um, I was conditioned to be well behaved. So I'm afraid, this is what I love about theater. I'm afraid of anger. I'm afraid of my own rage. When that comes, usually what'll happen is something more akin to a panic attack, because I think I turn it in on myself. And because I'm afraid, I mean, it's hard to sit with anger and rage and then find healthy ways to harness it. Now you can. Theater is an amazing outlet for that. It's one of the things that first drew me to theater was, oh my God, you get to go up and work through process, have the body experience all these emotions that I'm afraid to touch in my everyday life. Sadness, rage, anger, jealousy, all these things that scare me. You get to go up and play it out with people that you automatically get vulnerable with pretty quickly. And then, if everything goes well, so it's usually followed by some applause. Like, people are grateful that you've done that. So I think there's a naturally therapeutic nature of theater and expressive arts and writing, and so something just happens over that process of taking the story, writing it, working it through a creative process, then embodying it, then putting it out in front of, it's scary to put it out in front of people, but you do. And the feedback that came was uh, cathartic, I guess. But and it's not an easy one, right? Like, there are no real shortcuts. You kind of have to go. I feel like you sort of have to go through all of it. And what ended up happening was it went from rage to joy.
Were there times in the process where it was difficult to continue, or has it been kind of a steady healing process, or were there moments that were difficult to re-examine?
Uh, there are difficult moments. I was just writing something yesterday talking about, it's the state of Massachusetts has a grand jury report, an investigation that they did into the archdiocese of Fall River, Worcester, and Springfield, and it hasn't been released, and they're not releasing it. And I was writing an op-ed about those difficult moments along the way when I start to question my own reality, when I start to question what is this? What am I doing? Why am I doing this? And I would go back, and I've got the Philadelphia grand jury report to go back as a touchstone. And I feel like survivors in Massachusetts, particularly because it did get released in Boston in 2003, but these three dioceses have not. There's survivors out there that don't have the document to go back and be like, right, this happened, it happened. So some of the difficult moments along the way, of course, there's artistic ones of like, oh, is this a piece of junk? Why am I doing this? Is it first time I read it from my wife? I'm like, you have to tell me if this is dumb because I'm going to get up in front of people and like do it. So please, let's just pull the plug on this now if it's dumb. And so there's all sorts of artistic difficult moments, but then there are these other moments where I question what happened? Am I being a baby? Is this stupid? Am I just making a big deal out of nothing? And then I would go back and read the grand jury report. So, a specific thing to Massachusetts is I would like other survivors to have that experience of being able to revisit that grand jury report and say, no, this happened, and here it is. So those were some of the difficult moments. And then as we've moved into like sort of the producing elements of it, so I perform it, but we're also a producing wing of it. So I'm getting an education in producing, and that brings with it its own challenges and hard moments too.
You play many characters in your on stage and in this life, bringing it to life. Jay, a talkback after a show is not anything new, and actors rather, get to chat with an audience. This is a little different, I would imagine. You do talkbacks. Sometimes they bring experts in the field in. Share with us that experience for you, both personally and as a performer.
One of the things about this show that I've come to love, it was one of those difficult points early on, is that every audience is really different. They are the other character in the play, really, and because of the nature of the material, sometimes it can be quiet. There's a lot of humor, there's a lot of joy in the play, there's a lot of lightness around such a heavy topic, and sometimes I would go out and I'd start and it would be just quiet. And I'd be like, oh, they hate it. They hate it. And nothing's funny. And then I came to realize, and this was with the help of some directors and stuff, like, no, 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 no. Get curious about who's out there. Start to get curious. Play it. Have it be the moment. And it's like, okay, as I got more comfortable doing it, I could go out. And sometimes it's just a quiet audience. So each audience is a little different. And then with the talkbacks, it was a workshop production in 2023. So that comes with, we're going to do a talkback to see what people have to say. Almost all the audience stayed and wanted to talk. And the conversation pretty quickly went from like, what'd you think of the play and these elements, to people talking about their own experiences, their own thoughts, their people that they loved. I mean, the numbers, the research shows that 1 in 3 women and 1 in 6 men have had some form of unwanted sexual experience as a child. So people in those audiences, you get 115 people in an audience, you're going to have other survivors and definitely loved ones of other survivors. And so it was a gradual thing that we came to realize, these talkbacks are the highlight of this is what everything's in service. It's kind of like when I think about when I was doing yoga for a while, they're like, yoga is only in service of meditation. The play is only in service of those conversations. People, I think, want to have the conversation and we don't know the way in. And so the play is a jumping off point to have them. And so now whenever we're on the soul producing end of it, we have a talk back after every show. Everybody's invited to stay and talk. And then we have guests come. And sometimes there have been times where it's just me running it afterwards. And I really enjoy the talk back. I'm not somebody that typically loves to talk in front of people unless it's scripted and I've had a chance to rehearse it. Um, but I've really come to enjoy, because the play opens up a space for me too, to come and, it kind of speaks to the ephemeral nature of theater. It's us in this room, and this will never be the same configuration again, and something different happens every night. So if you want to stay and talk about it, no judgment if you don't want to. And so we've come to see that those are that's the probably most important thing of the event.
So in a kind of informal way, it's almost a form of drama therapy.
Yeah, the invitation is there. I mean, because we can also talk about, and we do have people talk about how did you write it in this part, and the playing the different characters. It's kind of fun that sometimes it can have that feel, and sometimes it can go into the theatrical nature of it too, which is also fun.
There are four characters, three, four, five. I've lost. There's you, your dad, the priest. You have a friend who's in it.
Yeah, so I think there's like 12 or so. There's me, my mom, my dad, the priest, the two lawyers, uh, friend. There's like people that come on, there's the beer runner, there's people that come on pretty quickly. So I think there's like between 12 and 15.
How do you remember it all, Jay?
I guess the bot, you know. Uh,
Once you got it
um,
set, it was set. I mean, if I came to see it again, I'm going to hear the same words.
Basically, I will go off script with some characters and some moments, because it's direct address to the audience. And I want to, if the cell phones have gone off, um, there's been sirens that have gone off. There's been it was kind of cool. The second time doing it at Chester, I'm introducing the character of the priest, and I have the line, I didn't really join the seminary. And there was a thunderstorm going through Chester, and the whole theater shook with this thunder. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And the next line is, I heard the call. And like, you can't script that stuff. And like, the whole place. And so I will go off script occasionally. But generally speaking, it is the structure is set.
With the audience interaction, we've talked on the podcast a lot about cell phones and people talking back and things like that. But with this kind of piece, with it being so personal and, as you said, so relevant to many, many people, have you ever had an experience of an audience member that you can tell is kind of going through it and having an emotional experience? And what is that like as an actor to see that in the audience?
Yeah. All those cell phone stuff and everything, like, I really welcome, like, I like playing off of that stuff. Uh, and then, yes, there have been some moments, and then some moments for me too. I brought the show back to my hometown in the spring, and we did 5 performances at the bar up the street from the church that I grew up, where everything happened. And the bar is the center, the other center of town other than the church is the bar up the street. And it's the one that I talk about in the beginning of the show. And they had me come, and so those audiences were filled with classmates, high school friends, their parents, other people from the community. And so those were some intense shows of looking out and seeing people react, and then what that did to me. And I can also think of another performance when I did it for the national conference for the survivors network of those abused by priests. And there's a part at the end when I'm playing my dad, and he's talking about how could we not have known, and this thing. And I heard an audible response that I didn't know exactly what to do. So I just kind of slowed down and took a breath myself, hoping that whoever that was may also take a breath. And but that was one that jumps out at me, that was like, ooh, okay. Because you get used to doing something over and over, you forget that other people might be experiencing this for the first time and having their reaction. And so I think that is also another important piece of the talk back, is to come out, sort of shed the theater piece and signal that we're all okay. We're okay in this moment. And yeah, so yeah.
So what
What
do
did
you
you
go
go
ahead?
ahead, Ellen?
I was gonna say, what do you do for yourself after going through a performance to, take care of yourself?
Um, that question comes up sometimes in the talkbacks, and generally speaking, it gives way more than it takes.
Mm.
Like, I feel more alive, more filled with joy afterwards. And so, usually my answer is like, oh, this thing gives. I get more joy from it. There was one time in Havertown where I came out for the curtain call, and I looked out and saw some particular people in my from my past that I was scared. I was like nervous of how they were going to take it, and they were on their feet applauding and crying, and I got overwhelmed. And when we came back for the talk back, somebody asked that question, and it was the first time that I was like, I don't know, I don't know, because the answer's always been that I get joy out of this. And this was still a joyful moment because it was a release of like, oh, they're okay with me telling this story, because my story involves other people that I grew up with, and their story, who I never thought I would be playing it in front of. So much so that initially I didn't even change any of the names, because I thought, we'll do it at Chester twice. That'll be that. And then as it crept down the eastern seaboard, I was like, I need to change the names. I need to do this. So that was the one time that I was like, well, that's a good question. I need to think more about that. Uh,
Have you had any negative response from people for whom this is so close?
Really, there there hasn't been. There's been the closest thing was a few victims assistance coordinators from the archdiocese, and various archdioceses have come out. Generally, it's been very positive. Uh, there was one victims assistance coordinator that I was having another performance, and I called and said, hey, would you? And they said, we were there, we came, and we felt intimidated to talk at the talk back. Now, nothing's, I mean, there some anger sometimes in the room? Yes. But given the nature of what we're talking about and what happened, I don't think it should be surprising that there's some anger, but never is it like, it's never felt like anger that's unchecked or out of control. And so they weren't going to help promote it or let their survivors know about it, because they felt like we didn't tell the other side of the story enough.
How
And that was,
patriarchal of them.
yeah. And quite honestly, I forgot, that's another character. The victims assistance coordinator in Pennsylvania is a character, and is shown in a really positive light, because they offered therapy when I called them. And that was what I needed at the time. And I made use of that and continue to make use of that. It's part of what turned me into a therapist, was my experience in therapy. So I was kind of surprised, and I guess I did take the moment to say, I really wish you would have found the courage to use your voice in that moment, because that's what this show is about. And we do need to hear that the other side, all voices are welcome in the conversation afterwards. But in their case, they would have had to step in and maybe use their voice. Otherwise, we don't know. I didn't know that they had come to see. I didn't even know they came to see it. But that's about it. For the most part, there hasn't been a whole lot of pushback, or if people do have negative things to say, they haven't said them directly to me yet.
I don't think anybody was breathing when I saw the
Oh,
performance.
yeah.
I saw it over at the Majestic Theater in
Oh,
West
right.
Springfield,
Right.
a home theater in some
Yes.
regards for both of us.
Yeah.
Beautifully situated, and there's some screens, some video projections that you use, but I really don't think anybody was breathing once you captured them from the start, because your ability to evoke and portray each character uniquely is it's bravo. And
Thanks.
even if you just go for the theatrical experience, it's worth your 2 bits just to see what you create on the stage. When did you know it was? Yeah, I mean, when did you know
High
it was
praise.
ready?
I wanted to say high praise coming from you because I respect you so much as an actor.
Really, find the time. We're going to talk before we close when we can see you locally. When did you know it was ready? Did you know, was it your wife who said, "It's enough, Jay, get out of the basement"? I mean,
So I did bring it up out of the basement at some point, and then we start. Mark and I worked for about a year, just like we had all these ideas of the Stations of the Cross, and one of the important things was I had taken it. Oh, I worked with Gina Kaufman, who is a director and on the faculty at UMass Amherst in their theater department, and we've known each other for years. And I read it for her a few times. She gave me some notes. She was really instrumental early on. And then I took it through an online workshop that was given by Seth Barish at the Barrow Group in New York.
mhm.
And we did solo 1 and solo 2, and it changed drastically through then. I read it with Mark. I read it for a couple of friends. And then there was a little more tweaking. And then some dear friends of ours, Len Berkman and Joyce Berkman. Len has been on the faculty at Smith since 1969 as a playwriting professor. And Joyce is a retired professor from UMass. And Melanie set this up. My wife, Melanie, was like, "Hey, do you want to hear it?" And I was like, "Do you think it's ready?" And so they invited uh, me over for brunch. We had brunch, and James Barry, who at the time was the artistic director at Chester, was also invited over for brunch. And so the 5 of us, I remember hoping that we were going to read it and then have brunch so I could, because I was nervous. And instead we had brunch, which was delicious, and then read it. But it that just prior to going over to Len and Joyce's was when it was like, okay, this is, I think, what we've got. And then there were a few tweaks along the way, but it was kind of a gut feeling more than anything else of like, I think this is ready.
Wonderful. Is there anything else cooking that you think I have another story to write, or are you still kind of just living in this one right now?
It's sort of living in this one, the producing side of it, and then my private practice takes up most of the time. I am trying to write an op-ed ahead of the performance this month at the Academy of Music in Northampton, just to kind of tie it into Massachusetts specific. And then, yeah, I don't know, maybe there's an opportunity to do a treatment for a film version of it and see. But I don't have anything. I'd love to have some more time to see if some other ideas came up in terms of like a play with other actors in it.
Well, you did Moon for the Misbegotten. What was that, last season at the Majestic?
Yeah.
Which is another character with who's haunted.
A little bit, yes. That was fun.
Yeah. So when
Yeah.
we reach this point in the program, the podcast, Ellen takes over with a series of fast questions.
Oh,
Yes, this is the close-up segment, Jay. So it's just a rapid fire questions about you. So, Jay, are you ready for your close-up?
yes.
What was the moment in your life where you just knew I have to do theater?
Second grade, I got cast as Julius Caesar in a play that another second grader wrote, who I just had lunch with for the first time in 40 years. And boy, I knocked it out of the park as an 8-year-old Julius Caesar.
What was it about that moment that just solidified it?
I was terrified to get up in front of people, and for whatever reason, with the script, I wasn't scared. I liked it, and the purple. I got to actually wear a purple sash, and nobody else had that purple.
What is a play that has had a huge impact? Obviously, your own, but outside of that, a play that's had a huge impact, either one that you've been involved with or one you just saw.
Waiting for Godot. Um, I got cast as Estragon in college and had was convinced it was gibberish, and then by the end of the process I was like, oh, I get it. But now that I'm 55, I get it.
Are there any plays out there that you just really want to be involved with, either outside of the acting or being in any dream roles?
Not so much a dream role. I am terrified to sing, and yet I'm drawn to it, and people that are in musicals look like they're having so much fun, and so I am committed to at some point being in a musical.
I love that.
Ellen, we have a chance to be on stage with Jay.
I know, I know. I heard it. I was just like, I didn't do musicals for a very, very long time, and
Really?
as someone who's not primarily a singer, you can do it. It's
Do we have time for me to ask you what how did you do that? How did you make that leap?
just, going to an audition that I really, I just thought, I don't know if I can do this, but I'm going to put myself out there. And I didn't get in that show, but they remember me for the next one. And in finding the role, the juicy acting roles, that's my tip, right? Like finding the ones that you bring like a lot of acting to, as opposed to
Okay.
the beautiful ingenue, kind of. So
Right, right.
yeah. Because I think if you act a song, then you're 90% of the way there.
Well, that will have to be my 100% of the equation, I think.
Jay, think of it as speaking in rhythm.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it. Was the OJ song "Walking in Rhythm"?
Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
speaking in rhythm.
There you go.
Okay.
Before we let you go, where are
Yeah.
you performing upcoming? I know you've got a couple of bookings that we can get to.
A couple, yes. So we've got July 25th, Saturday, July 25th at the Academy of Music in Northampton. We're really excited. We're going to be joined by Bessel van der Kolk, who wrote The Body Keeps the Score, which is kind of the foremost
Yeah.
trauma tech. I read it in graduate school and used it for my thesis. And so him and Leisha Sky, who co-founded the Trauma Research Foundation with Bessel, are going to join us for a panel discussion at the Academy of Music. Then we go to England for a show on September 3rd at the Bradford Art Center, and that's in conjunction with Survivors West Yorkshire are bringing us there. We have two shows in Dublin, October 21st at the Mermaid Arts Center, and then November 3rd at the Pavilion Theatre. This will be our third trip back to that. We've been to Belfast twice and Galway once, and then we're going back and doing these two Dublin shows. And that is ahead of March. It's not announced yet, but March, we're going to have a run at La Mama Theater in the East Village in New York, and that'll be our New York premiere run. And then we'll see what happens after that, if anything.
Wow. Well, all the
And
best to you as on that journey. That's amazing.
thank you very much. And unreconciledtheplay.com is a place that people could go and see what shows are coming up and where we've been and stuff like that.
Safe travels. How
Thank you.
wonderful. I can't
Thanks.
imagine you imagined that it would take you. Oh, the places you will go.
Yes. Yeah, it's been a wild and magical run, and I am so happy that that run has brought me here to spend this time with both of you today. Thank you for having me.
Well,
Our
thank
pleasure.
you. And for our listeners, we'll post all the information on our social media and on the YouTube channel so you can find out all the places you can see this wonderful show. And Jay, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time. I'm Ellen Cribbs.
And I'm Benita Zahn. Be well.
Thank you so much for listening to the Everything Theater podcast. Special thanks goes out to Alice Grinling for our photography and Justin Friello for composing our amazing theme song. Please remember to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you want to share your thoughts or what's going on in your theater community, you can reach out to us on social media or through our email at everythingtheaterpodcast@gmail.com. Till next time, it's everything, everything, everything.